we go. Happy Friday, everyone. This is Sports by the Book, live from the South Point, live from our YouTube channel, South Point Studio. I'm Alex White, third-generation sports bettor. And for the next 2 days, we have a very special in-studio guest, wise guy, originator in college baseball, best power ratings, football magazine. The list goes on and on. We have Kenny White, professional sports bettor, in studio for the next 2 days. I'm really excited. We have conference finals. We are definitely going to dive into those. And then you're going to bring something special to Sports by the Book. We'll do it about 9:45.
Yeah, I think that, Alex, thanks for having me. Thanks for saying all the nice stuff. And you too. I'm so glad that you've decided to go in the sportsbook business, sports betting business. I never pushed you that way. And I never pushed any of my kids in this industry because it is a roller coaster ride. And it's a business that you have to have a lot of discipline to be good and be successful.
Yeah, for better or for worse, I am here now, but I do love it. But 9:45, you're going to do a little something different. Different sport we haven't talked about much. Not a different sport, but we haven't talked about college baseball much here on Sports by the Book.
It's a minor sport that a lot of people, don't follow, but it's growing. It's growing. More and more books are following it and carrying it. More games are on the board now than ever, and that's great. I can't wait till next year and look to see. There may be, it's a sport that they take usually Monday off. Most teams play Tuesday, a lot play Wednesday, but then you've got some series that start Thursday, and then you got Friday, Saturday, Sunday is always busy during the season. So college baseball is 6 days a week, every single week, and there's great spots for it because there's no listed pitchers. So if you do the homework and find out how good the pitchers are, you've got a step and a leg up on the sports book already.
Well, that's a tease. So stay with us till the end of the show. 9:45, we'll probably give out a couple college baseball picks.
The 3 games I give out will move because I'm going to bet them, and you'll bet them, and the market is going to bet them. So when we give them out and you get the right number, you'll be the wise guy, and you'll be on the right side of the steam in this one, and you'll have a point advantage, a run advantage, probably on that total because most of my totals move about a run. Some move a run and a half.
I've seen it firsthand, so I'm looking forward to that, definitely. Thank you, everybody who is tuning in now. Please make sure you subscribe. It is free. Also, if you want to catch us later, if you miss a day, you can always find us podcast form. I also want to give a quick shout out. We have 3 locations here in Las Vegas that show our show live. We've got Steiner's in Fuego, Henderson, and Oasis, of course. There's a couple places in Pittsburgh. I missed them yesterday. Chris Andrews brought Pittsburgh up on Punchlines because we have a lot of support from there as well.
It's also on in my home office every day.
Thank you very much.
If anybody wants to stop by the house that's in my office, you come on in, it's on. And we see Ryan McCormick every day with Frank. Pittsburgh.
It's a good show. I mean, if you got to catch that 12 o'clock show, but thank you for having it there as well. And if people go to your house, then they'll really be wise guys because they can really jump in on those quick numbers. Before we do a recap of yesterday, we're going to go ahead and do our starting 5. These are the 5 games that we will most likely have a bet on by the end of the day. Most intriguing games. Game 2 in Minnesota. So Dallas took game 1. Timberwolves are a 5.5 point favorite at home again. The total is 207.5. Looking at that series price, that is the most intriguing to me because now Minnesota plus 130. If you like Dallas to finish it off, they are $1.50.
Yeah, we're going to be the books made the change. You got the flip-flop or the zigzag theory. Minnesota loses game 1. The hardest thing to do, I think, when betting sports is knowing when a team's going to have a letdown. And was it a letdown or not? Is it a bad matchup? But I felt like you go on a grueling 7-game series, you beat the champs, you're going to have a letdown. Dallas Stars had a letdown after beating the Las Vegas the Thunder.
Las Vegas Knights. Golden Knights.
The Golden Knights. So Minnesota, I think, had a letdown. I made them 6 in game 1, didn't take anything off of that. But I have them 6 this game. But again, I add in the must-win situation. The zigzag theory is worth 2.5 points to me. So I made the game 8.5. I laid 5 early when it came out. It's 5.5 across the board. So there still is value. We both win if the game falls 6. The only difference if it falls 5, I tie. You may lose at 5.5.
We're going to break that down more because that is very interesting. Your game 1 and your game 2 match just like the sportsbook do, but have a little bit of a different line there. Number 2, though, on our starting 5, we are going to talk some NHL. The Florida Panthers steal game 1 in New York. We've got to pick them here in game 2, -110 either side. Total 5.5, juice to the under, -125. That's because we had a shutout in that first game.
Yeah, I think that the Rangers are a great play here. Again, another bounce back. This is a home team. They cannot go down 0-2. Series over if they do. It may not be. We saw Dallas go down 0-2 to the Golden Knights, but they made their way back. But in sports, and we know in the history of sports, you don't want to be down 0-2. You're pretty much finished for the series. So you'll see a great effort from the Rangers here in this game tonight.
Number 3, getting a lot of attention, and I am definitely doing my part for the WNBA. Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever are going to Los Angeles. A very tough stretch for them. They will be in Las Vegas next, but most intriguing part to me on this one, this is the first game the Fever are actually favored, and it's even on the road. -1.5 for Indiana. Total has steamed up, 166.5.
Yeah, I think that went the wrong way a little bit. I like that game under. I made it 158, Alex. I did bet it under already. I went under 163.5. Usually I get the best of the number, but in this case, no. I'm going to have to go under 165.5 at a place I see right now.
No more 166?
No.
Oh, I'm going to have high? To too.
It went up to 166? So,
yeah.
See, sometimes people dummy these up, which they bet it the wrong way to create that extra half point or point to get more value, because if you try to buy a half a point, it's $1.10 on your money. If you can dummy the market up and push it up 1.5 points, you're really getting it for now almost for pennies on the dollar, those extra points. And it's so value in sports. How many times do you hear somebody say, I lost by the hook or I won by the hook? And mostly it's I've lost by the hook. So, yeah, you want to get the best of the number. I like it under. The Stars of Sparks play extremely physical basketball. Indiana still trying to figure out their offense with Caitlin Clark. They want to go fast, but they can't because they don't have that continuity yet that you need. So I think it's a solid under bet.
We're giving out all our picks way too early.
And I love the Aces tomorrow night. Coming off a loss, Clark is getting so much attention, and A'ja Wilson's the best player in the game. She's not getting the attention she's used to. And when that happens, superstar versus superstar, A'ja will have 30 tomorrow night. And Clark will probably have her 16 or 17, but A'ja will have a big game and dominate. And I think the Aces will win by 20.
Well, Chris Andrews and company, they've been doing a great job having the WNBA props up here, especially on Caitlin Clark's game. So I expect to see a lot tomorrow with the Fever and the Aces. We'll look out for those. Excited to talk about that NBA game more because it looks like we are on the same side for that one. But number 4 on our starting 5, we do have all 30 MLB teams in action today. The matchup that I picked on the mound, Carlos Rodon for New York, small favorite. Yu Darvish pitching for San Diego. I'm going to talk to you about travel in baseball and how important that is. So this one, New York is traveling all the way to San Diego. Unfortunately, the Padres don't really get to capitalize too much. They're coming from Cincinnati, so it's not like they were sitting at home waiting for them. We'll get your take on how much that really plays into MLB.
Yeah, it's a factor, but it's not a huge factor. It's like, home field in baseball home field is the least amount of money towards the betting line of any sport. Home field's not worth a lot. It's worth 10 cents on average. Some home parks are worth $0. Miami and Oakland, they have no fans. It's not worth anything. So some of the travel may not be worth much. I do like to bet against teams on the 9th game of a 9-game road trip and they're going home on a Sunday because sometimes they party hard on Saturday night and they're not ready for Sunday. And if you can get the home team as a dog in those situations, it's a great spot. And also betting against a team that has to play a home game the day after a long trip. Most of the time they give them a day off, but if they don't, I want to bet against that team because they have too much to do. They call it the honey-do list when the guys get home.
Number 5 on the starting 5, we already teased it a little bit, but I had to put it up here because we will be talking about it in depth. College baseball conference tournaments underway right now. Couldn't be a very profitable sport if it is done correctly. So we'll get into that. We're going to go into a quick recap of yesterday's game, starting in the association. So Boston covers the closing number of 9. The final score in that one, 126-110. We'll break this down even more tomorrow. There's a lot of factors going into game 3 now. Of course, I would want to look at the Pacers, down 2 games, going back home. They've been a very good home team. Now we don't know if Halliburton will be in there. But before we get to that, looking at yesterday's game, it flew over the total. We saw in game 1, just in regulation, it went over the total as well. We talked earlier this week. You told me go bet a few units on over 224.5 immediately. It didn't move much, but we did win that bet. So talk to us about that adjustment you made on the total and why you're so confident in going over for game 2.
Yeah, I thought that number would go up right away because watching game 1, and actually I think more I changed my opinion on Indiana watching game 7 against the Knicks and how fast they play and how weak their defense is. So when I saw that, I thought this isn't a normal playoff team. This is a team that's playing regular season basketball in the playoffs because their defense is below average. So looking at thinking about the Celtics, they're so efficient offensively. I thought they'd have their way. They'd put up a big number. They did, 126. Was not on an overpace at halftime. I wasn't worried because I checked the pace. The pace was 51.5 at halftime, which is extremely high. They just weren't hitting their threes. Both teams were hitting 33%. Said this is a great spot to go over. I'm getting a better number now in the second half. I went over 108.5. I think it went to 109.5. Others agreed with me on that. And I never thought it was in doubt. I never even looked at the score. I saw after 3 quarters, they scored 64 and the 65 in the third. The same can happen here, but obviously Tyrese Halliburton, his questionability about this game is going to be a big factor. He's about 9 points to the total for me.
Oh, that's a lot. But looking at that even more, you were talking about Boston because you adjust every day, every night. So you went all the way back to the regular season to see what their over-under number was.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I do have a lot of clients that, they get my power ratings every day and they use them. And I tell them the same thing, though, that the power ratings are 80% of the equation. There's a 20% science in bookmaking and sports betting. So my numbers are 80% of that equation. And sometimes they could be wrong. Now, I adjusted every NBA team down 5 points on their over-under number for home and away, and to start the playoffs when the playoffs started, because I did the homework, and average scoring in the playoffs is 5 to 7 points lower in the playoffs than it is regular season. The games mean more. There's less possessions. So I adjusted that. Now, Jeff brought up a great point. You told me about it. I heard Jeff say it and didn't think about it when he said it, but Indiana played 2 really difficult under teams to start the playoffs. Boston. Boston played Miami.
Yep.
And
Cleveland.
Two teams that do not play fast, 2 teams that play great defense. So the Boston over-under number was 114 to end the year. I adjusted them to 109. But playing after those 2 series, they were down to like 107, 106. And again, I don't think Indiana is a playoff type team. So I adjusted Boston's over-under back up to a regular season number, which 114 points per game for them. Double that's 228. So when you do that, it brought the total up to around 230 something. And it was a value play and it was an overplay. So I'll have a much better number wise. But again, that was the 20% of sports handicapping that sometimes doesn't show up in the numbers that you have to have.
Which comes with experience, right? And doing it for years and learning.
Well, and listening and getting the right information. I wouldn't have made that adjustment if I wasn't listening and hear Jeff said that and then you said that. So that's a great point. That makes sense to me. I need to go back and look. And when you make that right adjustment, you end up getting the right number. And that's, sports betting, you can only beat sports betting with power ratings. It's the only way to do it. I've been around too many years. I know who won, the sports bettors that win, and how they've done it. And I've known the ones that flash in the pan. They've done well here. They've made some money, and then all of a sudden they lose. And I know those guys they're watching, and they're just trying to make numbers in their head, and they come up with a bet. You can't do that. You have to have a system and a process. and you have to stick to it. And you have to be disciplined. Then you got to get the right number. You have to shop for the right number and get the right number, because that half point could be worth 3 to 4%. Again, you got to hit more than 50% to make money. So if you get that extra half point, that puts you in a profitable situation.
We'll talk more about this Celtics-Pacers game tomorrow, because we will definitely check in with Halliburton. Also, you brought to our attention, you were on as a guest with Jeff and I, and you talked about a star player being out and the other players really stepping up. So we'll dive into that if we think it's a good spot for Indiana, and we'll do that tomorrow. But moving to the ice, Edmonton steals one from Dallas in double overtime. I want to say great players make great plays. Connor McDavid had the winning goal in overtime, but I mean, he did put his team in a rough spot with that major, and they did fantastic on the power kill in that first overtime. But here we are, Edmonton has one up on the Stars.
Yeah, that one, it's tough for me because you've got such a high-scoring team in Edmonton and one of the greatest goalies in hockey, and Ottinger for Dallas. So, it's which way do you go? My numbers right on. There is a 6 out there now in this game too. So I was looking to go under 6.5 the first game, but it wasn't there. Market was too smart. I passed. Game goes under. I think on the road is where you bet under on Edmonton. And then if maybe there's a spot, if the number gets low enough, maybe an over spot. But again, I do like betting unders way more than over, because when you crunch the numbers in the long run, 51% of all games go under, 48 go over. Where's that extra 1%? It's on a tie. So you have a 3% edge if you just bet unders.
I'm glad you said that with the differences between these two teams, because that is such a good point. I mean, Dallas is the better all-around team. Edmonton has the Stars, very high scoring. So yesterday, talking to Dwayne Colucci from the Rampart, I said I wanted to see the Rangers and the Stars because the two best goalies, Shesterkin and Ottinger. But Now watching Edmonton yesterday, I was thinking, how fun would it be to have Florida and Edmonton in our finals?
Florida and Dallas, to me, would be the lowest scoring of all the 4 matchups. I think that was surprised. Yep. I have the Rangers a higher over-under number than I do the Panthers. So if the Rangers were to play Edmonton, we could see 6.5s every game on the total, and we could see some 5-3, 5-4 shootouts in the playoffs with those two together. I don't think Florida, I think Bobrovsky and Ottinger would be the ultimate.
Wow.
I think that would be 5.5 under, and in game 7, we would see a 5.
Wow. Well, I'm looking forward to see who makes it through those conference finals. Looking at the WNBA really quick, because I have to do a quick update here. Underdogs are now 17-5-1 on the season, Dad.
Say that number again.
Underdogs are 17-5-1.
Underdog players. And again, as I mentioned, totals being under 51%, you crunch the numbers in every sport. I'm talking NFL is the biggest bet sport there is. 51% of the results, the underdog covers, 48 the favorite covers. So you want to be on the underdog sides. Anybody that does that has done really well in the WNBA.
Well, here's the problem for me. I mean, there has been that huge gap in the WNBA for a while now. Yeah. And last year we really saw it with the Aces and the New York Liberty. Connecticut Sun a little bit there, but then the rest. And so I haven't really had any big plays on the Dogs. Do you think we have more parity in the league right now?
I think there's a little bit more. Yeah, there's some really good players that have come in the league the last 2 years from college basketball. So yes, there's a little bit more parity, but again, you're right. The Aces are number 1, and New York, I think, is right there with them talent-wise. That's just 1 and 2, and everybody knows that. It's not something that no one knows. Everyone knows that, and Connecticut is 3. So it's sorry to see that Della isn't playing with Washington this year, because she's a difference maker. She could actually put Washington up, in that top 4 bracket if she was to play.
We'll get into this more, but you do think that, there will be adjustments from the odds makers. Favorites won't be as big, and then that will kind of even out. That's 17-5-1. We'll see some favorites come in.
It always does. Why? Because bookmakers make adjustments. So they're adjusting those better teams down a little bit, and they're adjusting those weaker teams up a little bit. and that number ends up being, it'll go back to, we say 50-50. It's going to still be skewed a little bit to the dog, but there's going to be more underdogs covering. That doesn't happen today, tomorrow. There's 5 games tomorrow. It might not happen for a couple of weeks, but it will start to happen, that we will get that balance between favorites and dogs. And I can't believe I went under the 165.5, Alex, and now Circa's using 166.5. What the heck's going on here?
I made it 161 as well, so I was going to look to go under, so I might get the better number now, Dad.
I like, if this is a competitive game, Indiana Fever is 1.5.
Yeah.
I like competitive games. When you want to go under, you need to have defense, and that's what the Sparks play, a physical brand of defense. And for the Sparks, they're going to be fired up for this. They've been playing in the Long Beach Arena, and not a lot of people know that. Tonight they're playing at their main arena, so there'll be 20,000 people there to see, Caitlin Clark play, but they'll be rooting for the Sparks.
We also have Cameron Brink, just drafted by the Sparks, and then we have Caitlin Clark with the Fever. So should be a good game. Yeah. Let's go into NBA a little bit more for tonight's game with the Timberwolves and the Mavs. So you said game 1 you had the Timberwolves -6, and the book had a -4. The book opened again for game 2 -4, and you had said your number was about 6. So just to kind of explain to people, probably adjusted a point each way with Dallas winning that game.
No, I didn't adjust on either side.
Okay.
It was a 3-point game. It was a 1-possession game that Dallas won the game, and Minnesota could have very easily won. They got out early, but I think that they were maybe a little overconfident, but they probably didn't have their legs as the game wore on. Dallas was the fresher team, and that's why Dallas won the game. So I made the game 1 6. The line was 4. I didn't bet it. It wasn't a big enough edge for me to make a bet in the game. And this now game 2, I made it 6 once again. Circa put out 5, but I adjust mine now. So I had 6. Minnesota at home. This is backs to the wall. You have to win this game. It's not do or die. Like when the other team has 3 wins and one more win, you go home. This kind of resembles that a little bit in this situation. And all the numbers that I've crunched, I only go by past history, and I get the value. The value is 2.5 points that I found. So I adjust Minnesota from 6 to 8.5. The line's 5 or 5.5. I have a 3-point difference, and it's really about a 6.5% difference in the betting line. Anything over 4.5% is a bet for me. So there's value there. I laid the 5. It's 5.5. I expected it to go up. I think you'll see tomorrow it'll go to 6. People just saw Minnesota beat Denver, so they know this is a good team. This is a very good basketball team. Anthony Edwards is, on his way to being a superstar, and he's got enough around him. Rudy Gobert is really, doesn't get, I don't think, the praise he deserves in the middle defensively. When he wants to D it up, Rudy is a former defensive player of the year, and he can be. And Karl Anthony Towns, Mike Conley is really an underrated player as well. At 35 years old, this guy can still play the game. He's the perfect guy for this team, and Jaden McDaniels plays tremendous defense. So this team is a really good basketball team. They're right there in the top 4.
Talking about all that defense, I went under the total in game 1. It was about this number 207.5. It went over, fell 213. We're seeing the same number here. Because I had it 202 for game 1. Where were you at, and did you make any adjustments? Because Dallas has been such a better defensive team late in the season. They've been really good in the playoffs, the 6th best defense, 7th best offense. So the Mavs have really figured some things out. They made some good additions before the trade deadline that has helped this team a lot, and you can tell with how far they've come in the playoffs. But anything for you here on this total at 207.5?
Yeah, I did not bet the first one, the total, but I had it 202, so I should have bet the game under. I didn't bet it under. The pace was 94. There wasn't great shooting. Second half was played the way we would expect it to play. The first half, 62-59. You got it under, you're in trouble. At that point, though, I didn't follow this game. I didn't watch it. I'm so knee deep into college baseball, and I didn't get to see this one. So looking at the numbers here, I'm going to be under though in game 2. The longer the series goes,
right,
the lower the scoring gets, because the more important each game gets, the more pressure there is, and you know your opponent so much better. You've seen they've thrown everything at you they can throw at you, every play, every set, and you know kind of what's coming now. So you're better defensively in the series. So, I missed a great, I should have bet the game under, and I should have lost that, but I would have bet more at halftime on the under, because I know the pace probably wasn't that high. Neither team shot well. I think game 2 is a good under bet. It's not a great under bet, but it's a good under bet.
I bet it and lost, so that's one for us. Last but not least on this game and this series, I had you break down your series numbers before even going into game 1. Your series price was Minnesota minus 240. They closed minus 170. They didn't close because they adjusted, but it was minus 170 before game 1. Now, with Minnesota, you're getting plus money. Looks like it went down a little bit here, plus 125. I trust the numbers. I still think the Timberwolves are the better team. I know we have Luka and Kyrie on one side, but Anthony Edwards is this new upcoming star, has a great supporting cast. What are your thoughts on this plus money with the Timberwolves, even though they are down 1 now in the series?
Yeah, I like the Timberwolves. I would take the plus price, plus 125. I still have them as a favorite to win the series.
Okay.
I think they're the better team. When my numbers say game 1 should have been 6, right, and it was 4, I'm going to, going through the series price calculator and putting my money lines in. I know exactly before I see the outcome, what's going to happen, that I'm going to be on Minnesota. Now, again, I always say to people, you don't want to get too spread out and bet too many sports.
Right.
I follow these sports because I have clients that I make these numbers for, and you have to have a feel too for how these teams play. I don't really have a great feel for the NBA. My numbers are 80% of the equation, so it is a strong percentage of that equation. So I do like them, and I do like dogs. I've mentioned that many times more than I like favorites, and I don't like laying big prices because teams really, when you're talking about a game price, you don't want to lay a big price because teams don't care about winning and covering the spread. They just want to win the game. Case for example, we were at MGM the other day, and the Aces are playing, and they're a 17.5 point favorite over the Sparks, one of the worst teams in the league. They won by 6. I'm listening to the announcer on the way home in the car after the game. It was like they just won the WNBA. And so I always thought I could never do that job because I would say, you guys underachieved today. But He was like, oh my God, you guys won the game. It was so great. It was amazing down the stretch. You did this, you did that. They were supposed to win by 20. Are you kidding me? TC Martin's being paid by the team, so you're never going to hear an objective thing out of his mouth. It's all going to be aces, aces, aces. That was the most amazing thing ever. You won by 6 over the worst team in the league at home. So it's hard to lay favorites in that situation because the entire organization doesn't care if they win by 17. The Minnesota Timberwolves, they don't care if they win by 5.5 tonight.
Right.
They just want to win by 1. They just need to win by 1 because that gives them a victory. And that's the hardest thing about laying favorites. They do not need to win by that point spread. Just win the game.
And I'm glad you brought that up, that it is about feel as well, because that is where my reservations lie. Because when I look at the regular season games, and I mean, these two hadn't played again. The last time they played was January 31st, and they played 4 times. Only one time did Dallas have both Luka and Kyrie, and that's the one time they beat Minnesota. And then we added in these additions. PJ Washington has been great for them. So I'm trying to feel how much I really have a grasp for Dallas, if I have adjusted them enough throughout the second half of the season. But
right. And I don't use the regular season. I use it a little bit. If somebody swept somebody, I like the team that got swept because I always think there's confidence and overconfidence.
Right.
And when you've swept somebody, we beat these guys. You see it in sports all of the time. Somebody beats somebody and then the next game they play them. They're not ready because they think they're better and they don't have to come out with that 100% effort they normally would have to. So That's the only thing I really use from the regular season, because you're right, so much changes. You would really have to look back and see who played, because that's the most important thing. You're talking about superstars with Kyrie and Doncic. Those guys are worth, Kyrie I've got worth 3.5, 4 points to the betting line. Doncic is worth like 6 points to the betting line. So when he doesn't play, it's a big difference.
We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to talk NHL. We've got a little WNBA because we still have a little more to talk about that game. We've got MLB and we have college baseball. I'm Alex White. He's Kenny White. Don't go anywhere. Sports by the Book. We'll be right back.
From the South Point studio, the perfect blend of sports.
But I think the Niners are going to wear them down. Detroit Pistons lost their 36 games.
Comedy.
See over-under on that relationship lasting. I'm going to put mayo in the coffee.
Yes. I am beautiful. And a whole lot of Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Pittsburgh. Join Ryan McCormick.
That's at least 2 picks outside of our own in the first round next year. Rio.
And host Frank Nicotero.
I look at the clock, I go, ah!
Watch Punchlines live at noon every weekday.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Sports by the Book here at the South Point. I'm Alex White here with Kenny White, filling in for Jeff Parles, who is on vacation. You will be with us today and tomorrow in studio. Next week, we will have Dwayne Colucci in studio, and then Matt Neverett makes his return to Sports by the Book. Please make sure to like, share, comment. We want to see your live comments on here, and make sure to stick around because we're less than 15 minutes away for our big college baseball plays coming to you from Kenny White himself. All right, we're going to jump into the NHL. We've got a big one here. Florida Panthers in New York taking on the Rangers. The Rangers have been red hot throughout the playoffs. They took out one of the top teams in the league with the Carolina Hurricanes. And now they face Florida, who has been very good the last few years. This is a team 2 years ago who won the President's Cup. Last year, snuck into the playoffs, made it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals to lose to VGK. So it's a very hungry team here with Florida. Very good offensively, great defensemen. And you said you think Sergei Bobrovsky is still one of the best goalies in the league. We know he has a very high ceiling, but we know he does have some off games as well. Looking at that first game, I did go over in that one because these two really can score. I know we do have good goalies, but no special teams goals, no power play goals for either team. Florida had 3 opportunities and Rangers had 2. So the power kill was very good for both teams. I guess you have to take into consideration, too, that these two are very familiar with each other. They do play each other often. So now we've got to pick them here. Rangers minus 110 at home, down 1 game in the 7-game series. I like the Rangers tonight.
Yeah, I do, too. They've looked really good. This is a good hockey team. You've pointed out the Rangers 2 years ago.
I did.
And we bet the Rangers in January to win it all. We had a good price on them. They faltered in the playoffs, and that can happen. Things like that happen. We didn't lose money on it because we were able to bet the other side because we had a really good number going in. I think it was 30 or 40 to 1.
Yep.
And we were able to you're able to bet the other side in certain games to at least break even or even make a little bit of money. I didn't bet them this year. I had a high rating on Florida, a very high rating on the Golden Knights. I had most of my money invested on the Golden Knights. They have the top talent in the league. Golden Knights have more talent than anybody in the league. But that talent hadn't played together for so many games, and you had injuries. So there wasn't a lot of continuity for the Golden Knights. If you'd have given them another month to play together, they'd probably win the Stanley Cup again. Well, the Florida team has the most talent in the second most talent, but right now, teams that are left, they are the most talented. But the Rangers are the second most talented team left right now, and they're playing at home with their backs to the wall. You mentioned a lot of those stats. The power play kill was outstanding.
Yep.
There's going to be a regression there. We're going to see some power play goals tonight, probably. Hope it's the Rangers, and hope they put a couple in the back of the net. So I like the Rangers, and I like small play on the over.
Okay. Both of us on the Rangers tonight to get their first win in this series. We're going to look at the WNBA just a second more. We did talk about it quite a bit here, but the Fever are favored on the road, -1.5. Total open 163.5. It's been bet up to 166.5. I like the under as well. I made the game 161. You said you made the game 159. A lot of things to factor in. I mean, I keep calling them the Pacers because they're Indiana. It's the Fever. The Fever are still trying to figure things out. They've done a very good job later in the game. I would say the third and fourth quarters, they've connected better here. But you brought up a good point going into the last game. I mean, this team has to be tired. They have played New York twice, Connecticut twice, and now they're on this road trip here, stopping in Los Angeles. So I definitely like the under on the game. No play for me on the side. You already talked about it. The Sparks are very physical. They're very good on the boards. They've been a great rebounding team so far. So I think it's going to be a great matchup. Nothing for me on the side, but I think we're both in agreement on the total.
Yeah, I apologize. You get it honestly. And especially when you're doing so many sports, you don't know how many mistakes I've made. I did this morning. I couldn't even remember the Golden Knights name, so it happens.
Your first team too, and, really.
The most fun I ever had was sitting next to Richie Baccellieri on the set of The Line Makers here in the South Point, in the lounge. And Richie is the same. He's worse than I am. He's all about the numbers, and that's what sports betting's about. And he would joke on the show about somebody's name, and he would butcher their name just on purpose. And he's like, I don't care about the guy's name. It doesn't matter to me what his name is. I know how to beat sports, and I can beat sports, Richie would say. So their name doesn't matter to me. Just because you can pronounce their name doesn't matter. It doesn't mean you can be a better handicapper than me. And that's, so sometimes, but if you want to be in this business, you have to know their names and how to say them right. So Sparks and Fever, we kind of covered it a little bit already. And you're right. Indiana has to be tired. I think this is their fifth game or sixth game in 6 different cities that they've had to bounce around. They've played a couple of home games. They're improving. They're getting better. There's a lot of enthusiasm because the Fever know they're better. They're that close, but they could be tired here, and the Sparks need a win. So I like the game under. I mentioned I went under 163.5. It went up. I went under 165.5 just now before the show. So that for me, that was dollar cost averaging. I can combine them together. I feel like I'm going under 164.5 is my new number is what I went under. Now there's a 166.5. I know why they're betting it over. They think Indiana's an up-tempo team.
Right.
I don't think Indiana is right now. I think they will in another 3 or 4 weeks. I think they could be a tired team.
Right now, through this very small sample size, they are about 9th in pace out of 12 teams. So
yes, I didn't think I still think they're trying to figure out their continuity of a team and, get in those sets and figure out. Caitlin Clark's going to figure out where she fits in best on this team, if she's a shooting guard or a point guard. They still don't know that.
No, they don't. You're right. They do keep switching that off. But I think point guard, I think she's got to have the ball. But that's my own opinion. And you talked about winning or losing by the hook. I will just, we got to celebrate our wins too. So I did win by the hook yesterday. I gave out 163.5 for the Mystics and Mercury game. I also said if you like I said a letdown for Mercury, so if you wanted to take the points with the Mystics, and that did work out for me as well. But We're going to shift here now. We've got about 5 minutes to talk about MLB before we go into some college baseball with you. I'm going to start with the hottest pitcher right now in baseball, and that is Imanaga for the Cubs. He has the league's best ERA at 0.84. He is on the road to playing against the Cardinals. The Cardinals, they closed as the favorite to win that division, Dad. This is an NL Central matchup between these two. St. Louis, 23-26 on the year. The Cubbies, 27-24. Imanaga, 5-0. I believe he's had 10 starts, but 5-0 in those starts. So great season for him. Do you like him on the road? They are minus 130. Oh, it's up to minus 150. Last time I looked, they were $1.38 on the road. That total still sitting at 7.5, though.
I really like what I've seen out of Shota, and the Splitty is one of the best in baseball, and that's why he's doing so well. That thing it's in the zone, and then it drops out of the zone. But I think he's a little overpriced. I was looking to take Miles Mikolas at home. You mentioned the Cardinals. It's a great organization, one of the best in baseball. My two top organizations, studying the minor league system and how they develop players. Not many organizations develop players. They look for talent, and they say you better know how to play the game, and the best survive. Well, the Cardinals and the Rays develop guys and come to the big leagues, and they can do it cheaply. And Cardinals 3-game winning streak right now, starting to play better. Miles Mikolas historically has always been better at home than he has on the road. Again, Shota, there's going to be some regression. His xFIP over the last 3 starts is 3.06. Whereas ERA on the season, 0.84.
Mm-hmm.
The best in Major League history after 10 starts. It's never been done before. He's the best ever. But that's going to change. He's going to have a game or two that's bad. Could be today. So I do lean to the Cardinals, but I'm not getting enough value to make a bet. I would need a plus $1.30. I'm only seeing $1.27 right now.
So
$1.35 I would need. $1.35. So it's still 8 cents off.
Okay. I have one more for you that I was looking at. I want your opinion on, and then we'll see if you have any before we go into college baseball. But, I mean, the Phillies are one of the hottest teams right now, 37-14, and their offense has been clicking. They are going to Colorado. So that total is sitting at 10.5. We do have Ty Blach on the mound for the Rockies. He's pitched 21 innings so far, 4 walks, 10 strikeouts, and we have Christopher Sanchez on the mound for the Phillies. I don't know how much I can trust the Rockies to give us some runs here. The total's now moved up to 11. Would you look at the Phillies team total rather than the whole total, depending on them, or do you like to have both teams?
It'll all depend on my number, whether I'm going to make a bet or look for that type of bet. Now, I like the over in this game. I made it 12. The numbers in Colorado. I heard you say in the show one day, and Jeff was like 9.5 in Colorado. That's just an automatic bet because it should be. This should never be 9.5. It shouldn't be 10.5. This ballpark is a great hitter's park. The reason why it's lower is Colorado's offense has struggled to start the season, but they have shown improvement. We just saw this team go on a 6-game winning streak.
Yes.
So they can win baseball games. They do have guys. I like it over because Ty Blach is a below average major league pitcher. The only reason he's still in the game, he's left-handed. If he wasn't left-handed, Ty Blach would probably be playing in AAA somewhere. And he's still probably a AAA pitcher right now. If he was right-handed, he might probably be out of the game. No, nothing against Ty Blach. Every lefty will tell you the same thing. They'll tell you if I wasn't left-handed, I wouldn't be in the game right now because he's getting hit extremely hard right now. So I think the Philadelphia Phillies take that momentum. Good lineup. They put a big number on the board, but I'm not playing their team total over. I think the Rockies will get some runs themselves in the game.
Okay. Well, let's.
I do lean to the team total over.
It's 6.5 though. It's very high.
It's a big number, but they should get 7. I hope they get 8 today because it'll be easier for me to get the game over.
At that point, though, is it almost worth it just to lay the run line with the Phillies here? I mean, it's minus 125 with the run line.
Again, I don't have value in it. I only have the Phillies $1.91.
Okay.
Again, talking about favorites, favorites don't win. If you bet all favorites every single game, you're going to go broke quickly. And if you're going to bet all overs, you're going to get broke quickly. So, I like the game over. There are certain games that go over. 48% do go over. So there are spots to go over. There are spots to bet the favorite. If you're going to bet a favorite in baseball, it is on the road, but you don't want to lay this type of price. So if you are going to bet it, I suggest the run line. You're right, because they are on the road. You're going to get the complement of full at-bats. You'll get 9 innings of ABs here.
It is 9:45. Are you ready for our...
Yeah, I got people probably waiting. It is 9:45. Let's go to college baseball, Alex, and this will be fun.
Yes, no, I'm looking forward to it. So we do have a lot of conference tournaments.
Got your app out? Get on your app. Get one of your places, and you're going to bet the limit there, whatever they'll take from you. So our first bet, 9:45 college baseball, as long as Alex is ready.
I am ready.
All right, so we're going to go to Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona. California is playing Southern Cal there today. Both are on their number 3 pitchers. Going to be very warm, 95 degrees. That total right now at 13.5. Every point that I just made,
yes,
should be a hint to which way we're going in this game. 95 degrees. Both teams are using their number 3s today. We're going to go over 13.5. Go ahead and bet it.
So one of mine does not have that total right now, but I'm going to check another shop.
Go ahead, check, get whatever you can. I'm going to see if I got an app that has it. You're right. A lot of places do not have these games up, but we want to go over 13.5, California and USC today.
So you said that one is in Arizona.
That's in Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona. The Pac-12, this is the 3rd year and final year, because this will be the last year of the Pac-12 with everyone leaving the conference. So this has been a very good hitter's ballpark. It averages 14.5 runs a game. And let me tell you this, in the daytime, in the Pac-12 tournament, day games have averaged 20.5 runs the first 2 years in this ballpark. So, yeah, we're going to have a high-scoring baseball game there today, especially with 95 degrees and number 3 pitchers on the mound. It's just a great situation for an over.
Well, the number did move already, but, I mean, the juice did. I was getting even money. Now it is minus 110 here. And it continues to move, minus 115.
Yeah, I just bet it at a couple places. You're gonna see this one jump up and move. I see 14s out right now in the market. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. People are betting USC and Cal over. I don't know why. All right, let's go to play number 2. Let's move on here. In Las Vegas, we're playing at the ballpark. Gonzaga playing St. Mary's today. 2 really good baseball teams. If you've never, if you don't follow it, these are good teams. Gonzaga has been a perennial team that has really done well in college baseball. The total in this game has moved up a little bit. It was at 13.5. I'm going to go over. Again, number 3 pitchers for both teams. It's only going to be 85 today here in Vegas at the ballpark, but we are going to have a wind blowing out strong to center field. So this game matches up real well. I made this game 18.5. Let's bet it over. Go over St. Mary's and Gonzaga over.
All right, I got that one in before the rest of the people. Hit
your app and get that over. That USC Southern Cal game is now up to 14.5 at Circa. If you missed the 13.5, I still say go over. Again, day games in Scottsdale have averaged 20 runs per game.
Wow.
St. Mary's and the Zags over 13.5 or 14 today is the second play I have. The third play. Let's go to the third play. We're going to go to the ACC. Louisville playing Clemson at noon. This is in Durham. This is actually in Charlotte, North Carolina. I have. And this total right now posted on the board at 14. We're going to go under. Go under that 14.5. I'm an under guy. Got to have at least one underplay here today on the college baseball totals. And Louisville's number 2 is going today, but he's their ace, and he has been outstanding this year. Tremendous pitcher. Clemson's got enough pitching on their own. Louisville's bats have been below average this year. The average runs allowed, runs scored by these two teams cross-referencing on the road with their number twos going this year is 10.5.
Wow.
And we're going under 14.5. I did make the total 12.5. That was my total on the game. Two run difference there. So go under 14.5 in Louisville, Clemson. So we'll do this again tomorrow.
I'm looking forward to it.
We'll bet 3 more totals tomorrow. We'll see how we did. We'll grade ourselves and how we did, but you're going to get closing line value. That's for sure.
I'm glad that you talked about the difference that you want. MLB, you're looking for 1 run difference, right?
I like 1.5, and it all depends on what number that is.
Okay.
Major League Baseball. So if the game's 9.5, 9 is such a big number that falls because 4, 1 run makes 9. So 9.5 is a big number. I have to make it 11 to go over 9.5.
Okay.
But if the game's 8, I'll go over. If I made it 9, I'll go over an 8. So I feel like because that 9 is such a key number in baseball. So the odd numbers are the key numbers because you get a tie, 1 run makes that victory.
On that one game, Gonzaga St. Mary's.
Yeah.
St. Mary's very good hitting team. We saw them out at the ballpark the last 2 nights, and they were down by 10 runs yesterday against Portland, and they did not give up. They put up another 6, I think, before we got out of there. So very good offensive
team. It's a good team. You saw Portland, their number 1 guy. He's a stud. He's going to pitch in the big leagues. He's that good at Portland. So Portland, San Diego, if you live here in Vegas, 4:00, go to the ballpark today. Both these teams are outstanding teams. That's going to be a fun game to watch. The St. Mary's Gonzaga total, 15 now. So if you were able to grab that 13.5, you're good shape. If you went over 14, you're going to get closing line value. I think these still, even at 15, there's value here. Both teams number 3 starters. Very nice weather today. It's a hitter's day at the ballpark.
We're going to take one more quick break because we're going to bring in another special guest here. Don't go anywhere. I'm Alex White. He's Kenny White. This has been Sports by the Book. We'll be right back.
South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rockin' dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grandview Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show. Every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grandview Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grandview Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Last 10 minutes with us here. This has been Sports by the Book here at the South Point. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, South Point Studio. We have 4 great shows on this channel. So just stay tuned. We have Punchlines coming up at noon with Frank Nicotero. Myself and Ryan McCormick will all be there today. Shout out to our crew back there who does a great job and keeps us going here. I'm Alex White. This is Kenny White, and we have Vinny Maliola joining us now in studio. Vinny, it is great to see you. Thanks for stopping in.
Well, it's a thrill to be on the White Family Sports Show, I must say. And I'm under strict orders. Vin, it's been a great show. Don't screw up the last 10 minutes. Thank you, and I'll try not to do that. So
we're going to keep you. We'll keep you for 15 then.
We'll go up. Bet the over. Alex, I just love to go down memory lane, and so and your dad and I, who God, we know each other forever, since before you were
born.
Don't
date us.
We actually did shows here at the South Point back in 2011, right behind us. So this was pre-studio because we couldn't ever move. Slot machines were okay to move, but we could never move the hot dog cart, which that was like impossible to do. The legendary South Point hot dog cart. But we used to literally do shows for Velocity, which was a Discovery Channel, a Discovery Network channel. Back with some other colleagues. And the greatest thing about that show, Kenny, was we would tape it, but it was a live set. So we did not have control of what was happening around us. And literally, people would just start walking into the shop. There was all kinds of chaos, which we were happy to be a part of.
Well, we were way before our time.
Yes.
Way before our time.
And, of course, here we are now.
That's what I was going to say. So I have to give Jeff Fogel credit. He's kind of used the term sports betting media. You guys kind of started the sports betting media, right? You guys were talking about lines, and it was the line makers.
Mm-hmm. Line makers. And, there was Jimmy Vaccaro and Rich Baccelleri were on with us. Brian Blessing and Rick Heron, rest in peace. Both of them, we lost them. Lou D'Amico, who we may have next week. Lou is visiting, by the way, Kenny.
Oh,
Lou
very
is,
nice.
Is
love
visiting.
Love to see Lou.
And so we had, Chris Andrews was on. He was up in Reno at the time, but he'd come down and visit. So, I guess we were a little bit ahead of our time. It only took us another decade to get I guess, mainstream, but it's been a lot of fun, and you're carrying the torch now, Alex. So listen, have a good show. I'll see you later. Kenny and I got to
Well, you came in here with some sheets. So.
Yes, I did. Well, this is my version of a laptop, as Jeff Parles always says. But I was just going to, kind of chat with your dad a little bit on this too. Last week we put up the NFL regular season wins once the schedule came out, and obviously the schedule has been out in terms of opponents for a while now, Ken, as we know. But it was the sequence. We waited for the sequence of games to put them up, just to kind of get an idea of mainly travel and crisscrossing the country, and in some cases, if you look at the Chargers, crisscrossing the globe, basically. So we did put them up, and there's a team that has gotten the most attention, and that may surprise some of the viewers. And we hung the Carolina Panthers, who are certainly the fourth pick in their division again, at 4.5 over -30. They bet over 4.5 with juice. They bet over 5. We're at 5 over now on the Panthers. And Ken, your thoughts, because it's not unusual, as we know now, especially with 17 games, to where a low total will get bet to the over.
Doing crunching the numbers on season win totals, the NFL is the league of parity. Mm-hmm. No other league has the parity that the NFL has. The bottom team can beat the top team on any given day. And it's all about those guys playing together, pulling on the rope in the same direction, and having a great locker room. And those teams are the most successful. But crunching the numbers, Vinny, anybody over 11 in a win total is a favorite to go under in the NFL. And anybody under 6 wins is really the favorite to go over because of all of the parity in this league. And I do look for the lower teams. I didn't do any work on this. I didn't bet this, but that was the first thing that came to mind for me. But believe me, that was sharp money. Square money doesn't bet enough to move the line.
No.
And Square money doesn't bet this early. This This is someone who knows, and they're willing to put their money up and let it sit there until January.
Terrific point. And to the opposite end of it, again, Kansas City at 11.5 is probably going to receive. They'll receive support by their fans, right?
Yeah.
Because fans tend to bet their team or teams. Professionals will look to bet. If there's no 12s out there, which I don't think there are, or 11.5 over, you'll see where definitely the under money will come in there. So, but to your point, Ken, absolutely spot on. This was professional money, very respected money. We're probably going to see the same thing with the Patriots at 5. So again, to your point about parity, look at Week 1. I mean, when you look at Week 1 this year, there's only a couple of games that are. The majority of the games are 3 or less. There's only a couple of games. I mean, and it's the Bills against the Cardinals is a 7, which again, pros are going to wait to see if they can get 7.5 or more on that game. And the Monday night game, the Niners are 6 against the Jets. So everything else is 4 or 3.5 or less. I mean, so parity to your point, Ken, which is what makes it great for people to bet, but also great for us to book. So that's why.
If you could just pick one sport to book, which sport is it?
That's not even close. That's the one. So I did want to point that out, and it's again we've seen some good activity during the first week.
Team totals, division odds. What else do we have so
They're
far
all
for
up.
NFL?
Yes, no to make the playoffs. Again, conference and Super Bowl as well, and we'll still work on some other season-long props, player props and things like that coming up. So we've got the whole summer to put these up.
Do either of you want to explain the value of having that no option as well? Because some books just have to win the conference or to win the Super Bowl, right? But if you have that yes-no.
Yes, no is good. I mean, it's obviously it's a lot more tedious, I guess, or a lot more time consuming and involves more. But yeah, I mean, you're typically going to the vig there, the straddle is much higher too. So, but it's nice to have the options out there. We don't have it up here. I mean, but again, I encourage people to go out and shop. I mean, if you that's the other good thing, particularly here in Las Vegas.
Playoffs.
The playoffs are I'm sorry, yes, no for the playoffs we do have, but yes, no for the conference.
Okay.
But if you don't like a team, like let's go to Carolina. If you think they could make the playoffs, you're going to get 8-1. But if you don't, you're going to lay 14-1. So having that option is certainly in your favor. You might bet. Somebody might have bet over 4.5, but bet no to make the playoffs again because they're the fourth selection. They're the fourth choice, Kenny, as you know, in the division. So,
and you bring up a great point with shopping around and knowing. And now there may not be a yes/no price here on each team to win the playoffs. There is on win totals, obviously, but there's only a few that do win yes/no on conference or win totals, Super Bowl. You're going to get your best value on those because you've got a yes/no price, but you want to shop around because you need to know what books give the best value. At the South Point, you guys are giving value on it. The takeout, the theoretical hold for the book can be anywhere between 20 to 50%. There's books I've seen crunching the numbers. And I wish I was our good friend Richie Baccelleri because Richie can do it in his head and say it out loud and go, and Richie will look at it and in 30 seconds will tell you, they're taking out 45%. I got to do it a little bit longhand and write the numbers down and get them myself
with a pencil and an eraser.
But you will see that some books it's built in 40%. You're going to see most that are fair to you are 20 to 25%.
So look at the options, shop for the options, and look at the pricing. Look at the straddles and things like that. To your dad's point, because I mean that's important. So again, we encourage people to do the shopping, and who's going to give consistent limits as well, and things like that. So consistency is as much a point and an important point and factor in terms of your shopping.
Would you say though those no's for playoffs? That's more sharp money. They want to come in and find the
betting
best.
No's.
Yeah. I mean, the public loves
and
yes,
they're probably
and
higher
they
prices too.
Well, on a lot of the no's, like I said, I mean, you're looking at you're laying a significant number. You're laying $14, 14-1 on, and for a considerable amount of time if you decide to do that. So
right,
that's that going in. So
Vinny, thank you so much, and
good to be here.
Baseball numbers are up for the day. We went through a couple of those, but we do have the best lines here at South Point. Thank you, everybody who tuned in and joined us. Remember, stay here on this YouTube channel. 12 o'clock, we have Punchlines coming up with Frank Nicotero. I'm Alex White for Kenny,
Pittsburgh.
for Vinny, and everybody in the back. We'll see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. here on South Point Studio. This has been Sports by the Book.